I circle back around, I'm coming home. Through the wilderness, I'm not alone. Your love's a fire, it pulls me through. I circle back to you.
Hey guys, welcome to Circle Back to God. Before we get into today's topic, I want to discuss how I've been the last couple of videos. That is not me. I apologize. But I was afraid to offend people, and I have come to realize that even Jesus wasn't afraid of offending. He spoke truth with grace. And that is what I have been called to do. I am going to speak truth, but have grace. There's no swearing on this channel. There's no hateful speech on this channel. I am speaking facts from the Bible and from my own research. That being said, today's topic is on education. Our young ones are the next generation. We need to stand firm and teach them the right way. We need to stand firm and teach them to be a respectable adult because they are our next generation. They're our next presidents, next congressmen, next Senate. If we cannot raise our kids with respect now, what will it look like when they grow up to be in one of those positions? Even the teachers have a choice to make. They also have responsibility because they are teaching our children 8 hours a day. And yes, I have a say in this because I do have 4 children. 2 of them are out of school. 1 of them is graduating this year. And then I have a little one that just started first grade. So yes, this topic means a lot to me. That being said, I'm going to jump into it. And I don't know if I mentioned, but my sister's the one who brought this topic to my attention. She works in the education system teaching science and art. So she wanted me to dive deep in biblical scripture to see what it said about our education and how we should go about doing it. You might have an argument saying, well, they weren't instructing, regular school stuff. That's true, because we didn't have traditional school back then. We didn't have classrooms. When Jesus was walking the earth, we didn't have classrooms where children sat at a desk and learned. They walked around and they taught. They taught older generation, they taught younger generation, and the older generation taught the younger generation. Sometimes we even teach the older generation how to do things. That brings me to my next topic. Later on in this video, there will be a surprise for you. I'm not going to mention what it is. I want you to sit and watch the whole video, and you'll see what the surprise is. On that, I'm going to go ahead and dive deep into a couple of facts that I have for you. One, I've seen this on Facebook. I'm not sure if it's 100% true, but Donald Trump is trying to put prayer back in schools. I don't know how you feel about it, but I strongly agree with it. Once God was removed from our school system, it kind of went downhill. I had a very long debate on Facebook, and I'm going to post it here. The names will be taken away, but I had a long debate with a couple of people about prayer in school, and I wanted to share that with you. Also, there has been a teacher shortage. So not only did we take God out of our classrooms, teachers don't want to teach in our classrooms because of the disrespect, because of all the things they have to go through on a daily basis. My sister works in a small town, and with her school, it is from K to 12. So kindergarten all the way up to seniors, all in one school. Now, even her school, with a small town like that, her class is 21 students. A normal school nowadays in a city would be about 30 to 35. And a lot of teachers need peer support. And there's not a lot of people that want to do that kind of job. So these teachers are going at it alone. We need to pray for our teachers. It is really hard to instruct children when you have 30 to 35 of them, and some of them want to misbehave. And then also, in some areas, there have been debates about the LGBTQ in our system. So me personally, I don't think LGBTQ belongs in a school because it's a sexual orientation thing. And sex shouldn't be brought in school unless it's for sex ed. I'm getting down to the nitty gritty. Sex does not belong in school unless it has to do with sexual education and teaching our kids about abstinence. And if you have a calling to be a teacher or a para, and paras don't need a lot of education. If you want to go into a school system and help, and that's your calling, please do. These kids need instruction. Now that I spewed all my opinion, and you guys are like, oh my goodness, where's this chick going with this? This show is not just about my opinion or the news. This segment is about what I found in the Bible and how it has to do with what I'm talking about. And this first one, the first verse I got was accidentally from the New King James Version. When I switched it to NIV, it'll be changing. So when you see it on screen, the words I say are going to be a little bit different on this first verse. But it's Proverbs 4:13. Take firm hold of instruction. Do not let go. Keep her, for she is your life. What does that mean? That means we need to have instruction all of our life. We can't just learn from kindergarten to 12th grade. And I'm not talking about college. I'm talking about learning, constantly learning. You don't just stop learning once you graduate high school. You don't stop learning when you graduate college. I am 42 years old and I'm still learning. I read the Constitution all over again this week. I have learned so much in the Bible this week. I even learned from family and friends a new topic. I constantly build my brain to be a better human being. The next one I have is Proverbs 9:9. Instruct the wise, and they will be wiser still. So even the wise people still need instruction. Teach the righteous, and they will add to their learning. So even a pastor, even somebody like the Pope, still needs to be taught things, still needs to have instruction. That's why a lot of places, when you go into a company, they will send you back to school, especially teachers. They constantly learn new protocols, new policies. We're constantly a revolving educational system. No matter if you're 99, you can still learn something. The next one is Acts 7:22. This is about Moses. Moses was educated in all the wisdom of the Egyptians and was powerful in speech and action. And if you read the story about Moses, he was actually afraid to speak. But God gave him the wisdom to speak in front of everybody. He was their leader. He led the people to the promised land. He didn't shy away from God's instruction. He took it. And that's exactly what these children need to do in class. They shouldn't shy away from instruction because it just makes you a better person when you learn something new. The next one is from John 7:15. The Jews were amazed and asked, how did this man, they're talking about Jesus, get so much learning without being taught. But they don't understand that he was learning his whole life. He learned from his father, okay? God talked to him. He learned instruction from his elders, and he also witnessed a whole bunch of things. So he was learning from eyewitness, his own eyewitness. So with them saying that he wasn't being taught is misunderstood. He was getting taught, just in a different sense than we get taught today. We sit in a classroom or we watch a video. He listened. He opened his ears and listened to people. And that is the best way to get taught. The next one I have is from Proverbs 4:2. I give you sound learning, so do not forsake my teaching. When a teacher is instructing a class, it is really, really annoying when a student is interrupting them. But it's the middle school age. The middle school age likes to interrupt the teacher. They like to cause havoc in the classroom. They like to make funny noises. So right here it's saying, I give you sound learning. The teacher's trying to teach them. Okay? So do not forsake my teaching. I still have memories of some teachers sitting down and working with me when I didn't understand something. I didn't forsake it. Proverbs 1:5. Let the wise listen and add to their learning, and let the discerning get guidance. So if a person needs guidance because they're discerning something, guide them. Don't just throw them and say, oh, they're not going to learn. They're too stupid. They're too dumb, or they're too ignorant. Nobody's too stupid, too dumb, or too ignorant to learn something new. I wholeheartedly believe that. I have 2 autistic children in my house, and they can still learn. One of them is very bright on the computer. The other one is a great artist who teaches herself everything about art. Proverbs 12:1. Whoever loves discipline loves knowledge, but whoever hates correction is stupid. Just like I mentioned. And yes, the word stupid is in the NIV version. That was not my own language. That was in the Bible. I do agree with that wholeheartedly. If you, like for me, I've been asking people how I can improve my channel. I'm trying to correct myself. People that ask for correction want to learn. People that are like, no, I'll figure it out, I think they need a little bit more guidance. The next one is Proverbs 23:13. Do not withhold discipline from a child. If you punish them with the rod, they will not die. This goes in the household and with the education system. And when I mean rod from this, I don't mean smacking them and abusing them, guys. I don't. Okay? I'm talking about showing them the right path. When a kid needs guidance, they sometimes need discipline to get that guidance. With me in my household, I'll do timeouts. We'll have conversations about what they did wrong and redirect them in the right direction. In the school system, there's in-school suspension, there's detention, there's suspension outside of school for things, and it depends on what the punishment is for. If they did something small, it might be in-school, detention during one of their classes. As promised, surprise! My mom, Jill, has joined us for this. I am going to interview her, and the reason I decided to interview her is because of a verse I found in the Bible, and it's from Job 8:8. Ask the former generation and find out what their ancestors learned. So that's what I'm here to do. I am going to question the former generation on what she can pass down to me and what she's learned from her ancestors. Say hi to the camera there, Jill.
Hi, how you doing, everybody? I'm Jill.
This is her first interview, so be easy with her, okay? Okay. So my first question for you is, let's see, what advice did you get and who did you receive it from?
No matter what kind of a job you have, no matter how much you make, You have respect for yourself to do a really good job because it's respecting yourself and be proud of what you're doing no matter what it is.
Could you give some examples?
If you're working at McDonald's, take pride in your job. Take pride in waiting on people and helping people.
Yeah, because it shows respect of yourself and respect of others, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
I think my grandpa passed on that same advice to me. He said it doesn't matter if you're shoveling cow manure. Take pride in your work.
Yep. No matter what you're doing.
I believe in that wholeheartedly. What kind of jobs have you had in the past?
I worked in group homes, rest homes, McDonald's, Burger King, Myers, stocking. That was the longest job I ever had. And did pride in all of them. And I always did a good job no matter what I did.
What was your favorite job?
I think working in the group home.
Okay.
I felt like I was helping like a lot of handicapped people and teaching them too.
Yep. See, just because you don't get a formal education, because my mom here has not ever been to college, because you don't get a formal education doesn't mean you can't pass on stuff that you've learned. She's learned a lot by raising me because I have a disability, so when she worked in the group homes, she got to teach all these other kids special things.
Yep. And knew how to respect them.
Yeah.
And just because they were handicapped doesn't mean they don't need respect.
Exactly.
We had one man in there that if you screamed at him, yelled at him to hang up his coat or whatever, he wouldn't do it. But if you ask him nicely, he did it every time, and he didn't talk, but he would pat you on the shoulder.
I think that's something I mentioned in one of my other videos about saying please and thank you and having respect, and even a smile goes a long way.
That's another thing I was taught. And back in the generation, you had respect. And you had respect for your elders always.
Always. I even still have that. I mean, I might be an elder to my younger generation, but I still have respect for my elders. Moving on to the next question. Okay, Mom. Let's see. How do you think society has changed since you were young?
Kids don't play outside anymore. They're too much on their computers. I think this whole generation of computers and phones and
So basically,
texting
technology.
and not talking to people because you're texting now. You're not talking. Even on the phone, you're not talking to people. You're texting them.
Yep.
And they don't know how to interact with other people anymore. Because when I was young, I was always outside on my bike. Always playing with other neighborhood kids.
I even got grounded outside because I wanted to stay inside on my technology.
Yes, this technology stuff is for the birds because it's making America dumb.
And I think that we need to go back to, and speaking of which, we need to go back to Sundays where things are closed so people can have more time with their families. I'm very guilty of going shopping after church, but if I didn't have that option, I would reschedule my week so I can get my shopping done before a Sunday hits.
When I was growing up, Friday nights were our shopping. Sunday was family, no matter what. It was always big family dinners, or we would go visit my grandfather every Sunday.
Yep.
It was always family time. There wasn't any work in there. And everything was closed down on Sundays, except for gas stations and restaurants. And that was it. But where I grew up, even the gas station was closed.
Now, did it affect your family when things were closed, or did you just not know a difference?
Never knew a difference. We worked around it. You always got food, your shopping done before then. You know, now it's like I worked at Myers. everybody's shopping is on Sundays now, instead of going to church or for having family time.
I can see that because people are so busy that they have to work 6 days a week just to even make it in this life. Do you think that if we were to go back in time and change it where stores were to be closed, do you think a lot of people would suffer?
No.
Do you think it would be better for the...
I think it would be so much better. I think we even are lax on that, but I think they should bring back game night with the whole family.
We did do game night a lot this summer. As soon as school started, things got busy, and we are guilty of having the fast-paced life. Especially with me starting this podcast, I have a fast-paced life trying to get the videos out for you fine folks. But I do try to make it my priority to put my kids first with homework and everything.
That's another thing. Nobody spends time with their kids and does stuff with their kids. We had vacations. I would bring back that too, where family went on vacations together. And even I took my kids camping or whatever I could afford. I was a single mom, so it wasn't easy, but my sister helped me a lot, and she took us camping with them. My mom and dad even helped me a lot and took us on trips sometimes, but we still had those times together, even if we couldn't afford, and I still took a week off on my vacation and spent it with my kids, even at home.
Yep. Back then they didn't have a saying, but now they do. It's called a staycation, where if you have a week off of work, you would stay home. They gave that a term now, and it's called staycation. I think that term is nice because even if you can't afford to go nowhere, you can still relax with your family. Now, I know when we were growing up, we got to go places, but if you ask half of my friends, they've never been out of Michigan. And I think that's awfully sad because I'm a travel bug. Anybody that knows me knows I take a vacation at least once a year. We are very limited income, but I find ways around it. I either take back bottles or we make it work so we can get out of Michigan for a little while.
And
I take my lovely mother with me.
Even you take just a little bit of your money and put it away and not touch it. And that adds up. It really does add up. Even all your change, start putting it in a jar, keep it. It does add up. And it does help with some of the vacations.
I learned that from my grandparents. My grandpa used to keep his change in a coffee jug. And I would help him roll up pennies. So, you're never ever too old to learn from your former generation. I don't care if I was talking with a 60-year-old, 70-year-old, 80-year-old, a 99-year-old. You can still learn from your older generation.
Yep. People don't understand that, and
they want to disrespect the older generation. They think you're not smart enough because you didn't grow up with all this stuff. But in reality, you're smarter than what people give because you had to do it the hard way.
Yeah.
You didn't have all the technology we had. We get Google by our fingertips. If we want to know something, we can look it up. What did you have to do when looking up something?
Well, for one thing, when we went on vacations, I learned how to read a map.
Does anybody know what a map is, folks? We only know what Google Maps is, which is a thing that speaks to us. We would be lost without it, wouldn't we, Mom?
Yeah, we went to Texas, Arizona. I learned how to read a map. And
yeah.
Nowadays, kids are not even going to be able to learn how to do. If all the technology went away, they're all going to be so dumbfounded, And
I agree with you.
It could happen.
And I agree too that it's the government's and it's the parents' fault. But it's sad that parents have to work out of the home. They don't have the time to spend with their kids to teach them how to read a map, how to do this, how to do that. By the time they get home, they have to make dinner, do homework, and go to bed.
But they still have days off.
Yep.
And on their days off, they need to spend it with their family and do stuff. And kids don't even know how to clean their own rooms anymore.
No.
And that's another thing. Discipline is like out the window.
And speaking of that, what do you think was the interference with discipline with children?
Well, for one thing is CPS. So the kids aren't scared anymore.
Yep.
And so the kids are starting to overrun the schools and the parents. And since when has kids should ever be able to do something like that? They shouldn't. They need to be a little bit more scared of their parents. I was scared to death of my dad, but I loved him and I had respect for him.
So the government's stepping too much into a parent-child relationship.
Yep, I could see where there's beatings. My mom and dad were foster parents. I've seen beatings, putting cigarettes out on kids, and stuff like that is like, that definitely needs to be. But when you're trying to raise your child right.
But if we didn't listen, yes, we still got disciplined. We had to get all of our stuff. Mind you, we didn't have electronics, but we had everything else taken away from us. We had events that we were planning taken away from us. If we didn't listen, our plans went out the window. I think parents are too afraid to make their child upset to do anything about it. So as I mentioned before, we need to listen to the older generation and what they've been through and what they've done as a parent, because then you learn how society got the way it is. You talk to the older generation. And that is exactly why I have my mom in this interview. I do have one more question for you, and it's kind of a question for the future. What tradition or values do you believe are important to pass on? You mentioned some of it in just a few minutes ago.
For one thing is respect. You need to teach your children how to respect adults and elders.
And not take things that are not yours.
And and as far as values, I had my kids go to Sunday school. And when they were old enough where they made their own minds up, then that's when they had a choice if they didn't want to go or not.
I did the same thing with my kids.
And, but they have the sense of right and wrong from going to church. And a conscience, gave me a conscience. I was forced to go to church. That's why I won't never force my kids later on. But they came back to it.
You have to plant that seed when they're younger.
Yeah, we got to plant it when they're young.
Yep. And
that way it gave them a conscience. If I'm going to steal something, should I do that or not? It'll give them a conscience. Parents aren't involved in their kids' life. They got to know if something's going on with them. You got to know your child.
So one of the traditions I'm hearing you say is put the children back into church.
Yep. And bring church or praying back into schools and not, saying
I did mention that before, yes.
If they want to bring a Bible to school, they can bring a Bible to school. They shouldn't be disciplined for it.
What do you think about...
we never had all this violence when I was growing up. There's so much violence in this world, and...
Would it surprise you to learn that if somebody was hanging a cross up in their school for Easter and the administrative people told them to take it down? Somebody hung a cross up for Easter decorations, and the administrative people told her to take it down. How do you feel about that?
I think that's wrong, because
even if there's different religions,
that's a freedom of religion.
Even if there's different religions in the school, you still think it's wrong?
I think it's wrong, because if the other religions want to put what they believe in up, they should.
I agree.
And that's freedom of religion taken away.
They are stomping on our First Amendment. Freedom of speech and religion.
Yep. And nowadays you can't even say anything, or, okay, if I say to my brother, I'm going to harm you, you're in a lot of trouble. Yep. And you can't even say that, which you don't really mean it, but you're mad at him.
Yep.
And it's your sibling.
I agree with you. I think they need to look at, because people do have freedom of speech, but they need to look at the context and to see if that person already has a mental disorder. And that's how a lot of school shootings are happening, because they're not looking at the whole picture. They're just thinking this kid's spewing off their anger, but they need to look at the whole picture. See if they're getting bullied, for one, because that's a lot of the people that cause it, right? The bullying. See if there's something online, because that's everywhere now.
But let me stop you there, though. I was bullied.
I was bullied.
But I had enough conscience. You know, you get really frustrated and mad, and you try to teach your kids how to turn that around. You know, and my mom was a very negative person, and by turning something around, I did. She always said, well, you don't finish anything. Well, I quit school, and then later on, when I was 28, I went back and to get my GED, and I had to go for a year to learn a lot of different stuff. But my mom said that you won't finish it. Well, I turned it around, and I finished it, and I got a great report on my GED.
Yeah.
It was really high scoring, and I should show that to my mom. You know, and you got to turn it around.
You do. And speaking of that, since your mom was more on the negative side, who do you think the older generation you learned the most from?
I think my father and my sister, probably
Okay.
my brother, because she's almost 10 years older than me, and my brother's 8 years older than me. So I learned a lot from my siblings and my dad. He taught me worth ethics,
Yep.
religion.
Oh, yeah. Grandpa was a big one. He was head usher in his church for many, many years. He took me to church, and I have been in the church ever since I was born. Would you agree on that?
I do. All children need to go to church. I do believe that. And let
them decide on their own.
Let them decide on their own when they're old enough. And my kids loved Sunday school. They loved Bible school.
One of my Sunday school teachers are still alive, and she's almost 100 years old. She might be in a home and blind, but she's still kicking.
Yep. She's still kicking.
She's got God in her heart. Another lady I respect dearly is 93 years old? 94? And she's still kicking. So, like I mentioned, I don't care if you're 1 or 99. You can still learn. You can still be taught. It doesn't matter on your intelligent level. It doesn't matter your IQ. You can still be taught, and you can still teach.
And, you know, when you're older and stuff, you don't always have to go to church to believe.
Nope. You can have church in your home.
Yes.
This right here is God's temple. This body right here is God's temple. God is in your heart and in here. You don't have to go to church. If you're unable to make it to church, community is good. But if you're unable to make it to church, it's fine, because you can get community in other ways.
And I also do believe that it's not just the parents, it's the village that needs to help raise these kids.
Amen.
It's not just the parent.
Nope.
People need to step up.
If they see something, say something. If a kid in the neighborhood's doing something, say something. Just don't ignore it. If a kid is doing something good, praise them. Even if it's not your kid. You don't know how many times a child will open a door for me while I'm in my wheelchair, and I praise them up and down. I want them to feel satisfied for something they did, so they don't feel like, well, that person didn't really appreciate it. Why should I do it for somebody else?
Well, it's like your son found that $5 that the guy dropped.
Yep.
And so her son gave that $5 back to that guy, and that guy came back and gave him that $5 and told him. He says, what did he say? He says, I can't believe, I
can't believe a child your age would return money or something. I wasn't there personally, but I heard it was at Sam's Club. You guys were eating lunch, right?
Yep.
And there was a guy behind him that dropped money, and my son picked it up, gave it back to him. The guy ended up giving him the $5 because he was so amazed that a kid that age, I think he was 15 at the time, would actually do that for somebody and not keep it for themselves.
And when I was taking him, that same son, when he was little, through the store shopping,
yep,
he was singing up a
Didn't throw a
storm.
fit or
An
nothing.
elderly lady came up to me and she goes, You don't ever see that with kids. They're all over the store getting into things. This child is singing and
He still sings. He's 17 years old. He still sings everywhere he
and
goes.
singing through the store. And that lady goes, "That is one amazing child."
Yep.
Well, that's how you raise them.
I have to. And I always was a positive person. Ever since I was younger to now, I'm very positive. Everybody tells me that. I try not to let negative things get to me, and if I do, I try to count to 10. I am only human. There are some times where I snap, but then the best thing to do is going back and apologizing. And that's what I've had done in the last few years when I've noticed I'm getting a little angry. I need to put myself aside and get back to focus and apologize for my attitude.
And what do they say too with your kids? It's not the quantity.
It's the quality.
It's the quality of time.
It doesn't matter if you spend every day with them, but when you do spend time with them, don't have it on your phone like this. Don't be reading something else or whatever.
Or
spend time with them, one-on-one.
Or another thing they don't have anymore. Families don't eat dinners together.
Nope.
They're all separated, or they eat different times, or...
Well, that gets back to the whole thing of busy life. These parents have such a busy life that their kids are getting off the bus. They have to make their own dinner, and their parents get home at 8 or 9 o'clock at night. So nobody's there to raise them. And I believe in community groups because with parents working, kids can go to different activities after school. I believe in that because at least they get some time with some adults and some peers. And they're not home alone trying to cause havoc.
And, on your days off, have dinner together. Don't be separated.
Yep.
And like you do, at the dinner table, you do not have no electronics whatsoever at the dinner table. You're talking.
Yep. And with watching the news and watching what happened to Charlie Kirk and seeing the revival that's happening, that's why I decided to bring this channel back up. I'm sticking to it 3 days a week. My mom might be on another interview with me if it's another topic that she can get involved with. She will be here. But as you guys can see, circle to God. Circle back to God. We have gotten away from God. We are bringing evil into everything instead of bringing God to everything. God is the center. God is the most important. I think we'll leave it there for now.
Okay.
Thank you so much for joining me on this awesome session of education.
And thank you for listening.
Yeah.
I've watched all the changes and not happy with a lot of them.
You were born in, you were born during the Martin Luther King era, right? Before he got assassinated? You were born right before he got assassinated, right?
Yes.
Okay, and JFK and all that. So you kind of remember all of that. So she's seen a lot of change since then. So if you ever have any questions, comment down below. I'll make sure she gets to answer them. So thank you guys for watching. And thank you again for joining us on the session of education. We have learned a lot from our older generation. Thank you again. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.
Bye.
I circle back around, I'm coming home. Through the wilderness, I'm not alone. Your love's a fire, it pulls me through. I circle back to you.